The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 8th day of November 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindo's. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Sherry Vanderpool, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sherry, how was your weekend?
It was great. It was great. I went to go see Mama Patterson after 4 years. So I haven't seen my mother in like 4 years.
Really?
So yeah, she was in
Nice.
Bermuda, I was in Atlanta. When I was in Atlanta, she was in Bermuda. So forth, she went to go run, as well as my stepfather and my brother, a marathon or a half marathon in Savannah. And it rained literally from Friday all the way until yesterday. So they attempted and got there and they were like, yeah, forget this. And I was like, yes, because it was like 5 o'clock in the morning and it was, so we got a good, good family time. So it was nice. It was real nice.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you got to see your mom first time. Well, you know what? And she gets to see you mornings here and
yes,
be reminded of how great you are as a daughter.
Get it?
What? No.
Jamel, I'm gonna take that as it was something very sweet coming out and just got caught in your throat right there.
Yes.
But I just know that it is. And look how cold it is, right? Look. It is cold.
Speaking of weather, Sherry, I went out for a little joggy jog this morning, ended up walking. But anyway, it's 59 degrees. Anybody who knows, 59 degrees is like snow for South Florida. And people be, they're like, well, look, you lived in the Northeast for so long, you should be used to it.
It doesn't matter.
When your body adjusts, it's not easy just accepting 59 degrees. So yeah, but
it's 37 here, and I'm got on Uggs.
Yeah, no. See, I love the fall, and I don't mind, chilly temperatures. Anything lower than 40, we've got problems. But when you bring me this 59 without warning, and because I don't really watch the weather channel like that, or weather keep up with it, like because in New England and New York, weather you kind of really have to keep up with it because it could be 80 degrees one day and 38 the next, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's so normal for it not to be gaps like that. So whatever. Anyway, so this weekend, I'm glad you got to see your mom. Thank you, Mama Patterson, always looking out, and hopefully your next half marathon or marathon, the weather cooperates so you can get your thing done. I actually this past weekend, I did forget the time was changing. I don't feel like I don't feel like I got an additional hour of sleep. And as far as what I did, I went to a wedding, and I don't often get to go to weddings that my wife is doing. So she was kind of like, it was her cousin's wedding. She was the planner, I guess. And
what do you guess?
Well, I'm trying to think of the title. It was a Nikki Occasions event.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to say planner, but she was the producer, I guess. And the wedding was, I don't get to go to see what she does often, but it was, man, it's like these royal, things. And I often see people saying, oh well, I wouldn't go out all out for a wedding. It's about the marriage. Nah, bruh. If this is your something you plan on doing once in your life, like graduating or whatever,
Yeah.
do your thing
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
that's your special day. And I say that to say congratulations to the bride and groom, Lewis and Kaylee. Awesome ceremony and wedding. And she
It's
definitely,
amazing.
yeah, she definitely produces some great events. And I will not take this disrespect from Michael Wilson. My wife is not a wedding coordinator, she is a wedding producer. She has coordinators who work for her. Let's be clear there. Um,
It would you give them a let's be clear.
let's be clear there. Um, Terry K says, throne speech recap. Yes, we're going to be talking about the throne speech in a few. We've got some things coming for the wife from the wifester.
Oh.
Didn't think she'd be watching, so she's
So she deserves a puppy. I saw a comment on
a what?
somebody's thing, a puppy for how well she's doing. I forgot who made the comment on Facebook because I be watching sometimes,
You know what?
and somebody made a puppy.
Either her cousin Sherry or cousin Leanna can get her a puppy if that's what you guys think she wants. So, I'll tell a chat with her cousin Leanna and cousin Sherry to see how they can arrange puppy share program. But we have a lot to get to today. We have Bermuda College lecturer and economist Craig Simmons join us. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. You know it's a good one when Mr. Simmons is in the building, and we're going to be discussing the throne speech. So it's a very important conversation. Those of you who don't want to read the entire throne speech, we'll be here to break it down with you. Discuss some things that we should look forward to, and even the criticism. I mean, a certain person said in their over 2 decades of being in politics, this is the weakest throne speech they've come across. So interesting. Daddy players are who said it. Very easy one for Sherry today. So she don't get this one, folks. We need to find something for her. I don't know. Some sort of punishment needs to happen for sure if she doesn't get today's one. But
Take this out of the show. Take it out of the show.
Yeah. We have a question for you today, though. Something that's been coming, regardless of the topics that we've been discussing, something that has been coming up a lot lately in general conversation on this show and in private conversations is about boundaries. And Sherry, I know you wanted to discuss this in many respects, and it's got so many different angles.
Yes.
But why is a
And
conversation about boundaries so important?
because I feel like we don't set them, and when we do, it is looked upon as how dare they, how dare she,
Yeah.
how dare he set a boundary of such. And I think we will have to look at it in different sections and maybe make a series of it once a month or something. But like we're going to talk about the workplace, setting boundaries in the workplace for yourself is very important. There's so many people working from home, and I joke about it, how wonderful it is that my job gave me a monitor, a keyboard, all of these things. But what happens? I roll out of bed, I do this, I go right into work, and then I'm doing that throughout the day, even sometimes after hours. You know what I mean? So setting boundaries to let people know what I understood someone to say, the rules of engagement. What is expected of me and what is expected of you. And also not just in a private sector, but even as an entrepreneur, right? This show itself, boundaries have to be set. And boundaries in regards to communication, what we're willing to do, what we're not willing to do. And when they are challenged, people are like, how dare she tell me I can't call her after a certain hour? How dare they say X, Y, and Z? So it's just important for your own self-care, your own mental health, and all of those things that boundaries are set.
Well, let's get to the question before we run out of time.
Sorry.
The audience could jump in. So we're going to be broad today, but as Sherry said, we'll probably get more detailed as we discuss it on different, because there's so many different angles as she mentioned. So basically, how necessary are boundaries for your mental health and self-care. And I think Sherry makes a lot of points. There are people that may say, Sherry may say, look, yo, don't hit me up on Sundays. That's my day of rest, and so on. I could respond like, yo, we've got work to do. Like, player, what are you talking about? Respecting people's boundaries, not taking offense when they tell you certain things. And believe it or not, folks, I mean, everything of what Sherry just said, I've had to do that. Like, there are times, I'll pick on Leanna since she can't fight back right now. She's backstage. So I don't like to text people weekends. I don't like to hit people up about work weekends. I just believe in people having their space. But then, like a Monday morning, we may get an email, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, did you get this or whatnot? Yep, I got it. I'm going to add it to this and that. But also, I don't like to put the additional pressure on that person. In this case, Leanna, because I know she's well, like, organized and got her stuff done. So that's a boundary I put right there in terms of respecting, she's got this, she's going to do this. But sometimes she's like, no, if you have something, give it to me. However, my respect for those boundaries, understanding that, again, she has a full-time job. Sherry has a full-time job. They have other things that they need to do. Boundaries, and Sherry, I can't thank you enough, because Sherry first brought this up like last week or week before to have this discussion. This is probably one of the most important conversations we've had in recent times. It really is, because sometimes we don't set those boundaries because we don't want to upset people. We care more about other people's feelings than we do our own mental state. That's not healthy.
Yeah. And it goes back to just having that good intention within yourself, right? So my friend laughs at me because I have my doctor's personal telephone number, cell phone number, and I can be a nuisance when I'm good and ready. However, I make sure that if I'm a nuisance to him or his private phone, I try to make it through work hours, and indicate if it has to be like, you can hit me up after, back on work hours, but I just wanted to let you know this. You know what I mean? You still set new boundaries. It's not an emergency. You don't have to answer me right now, but sometimes the mind, gets to going and you got a whole lot of, let me just send this, but you don't have to respond to me until Monday.
Right.
If you're able to do that, people can respect it, and you don't put it in their hands to have to tell you those things.
Sherry, remember a couple months ago, or probably it was probably weeks ago, we spoke about people not turning their cameras on during meetings, right? Remember that conversation? Okay. Yeah. I said, one of my partners, right? We'll be having meetings. She does not like being on camera. And it used to annoy me. And I then realized, I'm like, no, this is where she's comfortable. This is her state. Like, if this is where she's comfortable, and we need to communicate in the manner in which she's most comfortable. It's not about what I deem most comfortable. So I had to actually get used to that. Folks, people's boundaries, sometimes they're not going to tell you. They're going to show you. And it's up to you sometimes to respond in a respectful manner to say, you know what? This is how this person feels comfortable. Who am I to tell them turn on their camera when they just probably look? You don't know. They're at home. They probably aren't comfortable sharing their background today. They may be doing other things. Although their attention is in the meeting, they may have other things going on in the background. And guess what? One last thing. They simply just don't want to be on camera. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not responsible for how you take it and how you feel. I would hope that you would take it in the most respectful way, and I should present it in the most respectful way. But it's not for you to be like, what's wrong with her?
Yeah.
No, but it's like, okay, well, let's move on. And the issue becomes if they are not engaged. Now that's the whole other part. You have to stay engaged. If you're not going to do one thing, you need to at least be engaged in a meeting and be present.
Indeed. I could have my camera on, still not be present. Like conversation. I'm joking. Nachika Trot says, it is essential for employers/employees to have boundaries. Setting clear boundaries helps to maintain a good productivity, and social dynamics in the workplace. Professional boundaries and priorities should be clearly defined in the workplace. Carlita Davis says, thank you, Sherry. This is my challenge. I've been trying to figure it out, but it's not working. Help. Come on now, Sherry. That's like so yeah, go and helping people. Ebony Souza and Judy Virgil. Sherry.
Boundaries are underrated. If you haven't set them, you're hindering yourself. Absolutely. And more than all, I have colleagues that put a note on their email signature to share their hours of work. It is a nice, subtle way to always keep it in front of mind. Yeah.
You know, Sherry, that's a great idea. But and something else that's come out of this conversation and some of the things that you shared with me. The question is scrolling down bottom, folks. Michelle White, it's scrolling down bottom. That's the question. How necessary are boundaries for your mental health and self-care? One of the things that stands out to me that is I say to people, and I probably shouldn't, I will make myself available as long as I'm awake. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Absolutely.
Folks, I will do my best to respond when I receive the message. However, I will definitely respond to your message in a timely manner. Now, people may say that's broad. What's a timely manner? Give myself 24 to 48 hours if I'm not on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I set one this weekend. I had to write a letter to a client, and I knew I was going to take a half a day on Friday, and she might not have liked the letter that I sent.
Mhm.
And so I clearly stated in the email that I will not be available this afternoon. However, if you have any questions and concerns, you can definitely, give me a call on
Mhm.
Monday. So my clear boundary was, don't call me this afternoon because I'm not going to answer. But you're still what you may have to say or maybe respond is still important, and I will do so on Monday. Now, the other part of the boundary is keeping your word and following through with what you say. So if you're going to respond to me in 24 or 48 hours, then you must follow through
Correct.
with your own boundary that you set.
Correct.
But what she did say was great as far as putting hours everywhere. If you're an entrepreneur, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on this, on the websites, put your boundaries and let people know it's a constant reminder of what it is that needs to be done.
Indeed. Let's go back to the comments. Again, question, how necessary are boundaries for your mental health and self-care? Sean Smith says, my former job worked on a 24-hour clock and I hated having the company cell phone. People used to call me at ungodly hours after I knocked off or before I started my shift. I think workplaces like that, honestly, are a thing of the past, or at least they should be. I think you should have the right amount of staff where people can be attentive for the duration 7 or 8 hours a day, where no one should have to be on call for 24 hours. I think we're living in a time where family should be more important than work. Well, it should have always been that way, but definitely right now. So I've had to learn this because sometimes you grow up in a space where we've had conversations on this show where I do not like the idea of championing, oh, I work 2 jobs or 3 jobs. I mean, I remember I was working 90 hours a week one summer to save for college. It really should not be that way. That's not healthy. It's not healthy, but it's been championed, especially in the Black community, for many years, right? That this is the way we should be doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ingrained us. And when we go back to the question, how is it for your mental health and self-care? It's very important. It allows your brain to rest. It allows your self-care to take place, whether that is enjoying, a meal, enjoying whatever. I've hit Jamal up and I'm like, you didn't answer my thing. He's like, I'm eating. I hit you back after. I'm like, it's sorry, but it's a boundary being set. You know what I mean? Like, so in my mind, I'm like, around 6, 7 o'clock, he might be eating. He may not answer. You know what I mean? And so you just have to, but it really helps to ease the mind.
You all just get me in trouble. I'll be and then this Nick is so funny because she'll be like, something important going on your phone, Jamal. Even yesterday at the wedding, like me and Sherry, because we communicate off the show. And I don't even know if I told her I was going to be at a wedding. And I was like, nah, I haven't done it. I'm at a wedding and I'm not going to be home till late. No, folks, if you know me, I'm in bed by 9, sleep by 10, right? Up by 5 a.m. But I had to let her know. I'm like, yeah. And my sister-in-law was like, so Jamal, what's going on in the world? Looking at the phone, like, because, I'm at a wedding reception. So again, I've opened myself up to this because people know that I try to respond to them all the time as early as possible, but it's probably not healthy. And those are boundaries that probably I need to set. But that's just my personality right now, at least in the stage that my business is in and I'm in. But we have a lot of comments. Let's go through. So, Hadaline Stevenson Swan for you, Sharon.
I am an extremist. When I am working, will go all the way over and beyond. However, when I'm on vacation or time and leave, treat me like I'm dead, dead, dead. Seriously. And she is not lying.
Noted, Hadaline. Noted. Nachika Trot says, I like this idea and will try to use in the future. That is the regard to the emails, I believe. Michelle White says, I often set the boundary for others. I may send an email over the weekend, but I start with and end with letting them know that immediately response not required and wait to respond during the week. I recognize that people like me may be working stupid hours and I don't want to encourage others to do so also.
I like that.
Drace one says 24-hour jobs are still here, even having you be contactable on vacation. Yeah, again, as I stated, those are things of the past. They should not be happening in 2021 is my point. But hey, crazier things have happened. Karen Simmons says, I turn off my work phone evenings and weekends, but more importantly, I have communicated previously face-to-face that I am not available. Good point. And Carla John will wrap it up with this. This is one of the best email signatures response I have seen. Quote, I work a flexible schedule. I have sent this email at a time that was convenient for me. I do not expect you to respond to it outside of your usual business hours. Boundaries are important. End quote. And Nikki Michelle, I lied. One more. Here we go. She said, autoresponder tells folks it's not them, it's me, and I won't be returning their message for 24 to 48 hours. She ain't lying, folks. She is actually the last person I sent an email, and I got that exact response, and I respected that exact response. But luckily, I got a response within 24 minutes. But yeah, folks, it's real. Boundaries are important. And as Sherry stated, we're going to continue this conversation because it needs to be broken up. There's professional boundaries. There's personal boundaries. Right? Emotional. It's so much to this conversation. So let's bring Leanna in. I want to ask Lee, I'm going to put her on the spot. And you. I need to know what boundaries you all give me because, Good morning, Lee.
Good morning. One thing, you stay putting me on the spot. Happy Monday to you too.
I forget you could hear me backstage. Sorry. So Lee, I try not to text you guys on weekends and stuff. And we've never ever had hey, I'm busy, don't text me, or I've never told you guys, hey, I'm busy, not to text me. But what are some boundaries that and I'll say use us that you feel are there that work for us?
What worked for us, I feel like we have a respect level for each other when it comes to that. And I'll put it simply like this. Since the age of technology, we're discussing phones and responding to messages and whatnot, I want to say that people feel there is an obligation that because you message me, I have to message you back. Yeah. And it's funny, about 3 years ago, since I worked at Gosling's, I heard something from one of my bosses, and they said, just because I have a cell phone and whether it's in my hand or not, does not mean that I'm obligated to respond to you like that. And I think that kind of changed things for me because I was one that would feel obligated to have to reply to messages as soon as they came in. And I started making that something that I just don't do anymore. It's like, I will get to you when I'm in a headspace to be able to respond.
Yeah, I need to mature to get to that point because the two people I'm not like that with, my business partner, they'll tell you. Keith and Shanta, I text them, right? Like, okay, so it's like 12 o'clock. I mean, okay, it's 12:05. It's 12:06. What? But no, honestly, you get used to it, and you have to have them with even your parents. You have to have them. One of the things I want to share, and I know you want to jump in and share real quickly, is a lot of people don't know that my phone has been on silent for over 10 years. What does that mean? If my phone is not with me, I don't know you're texting me. I don't know you're calling
So
me.
not vibrate, silent.
Not even vibrate, silent. Like, ask my
Silent.
father. If you know my father, he'll call me 10 times and I wouldn't answer. Not because I'm ignoring him, because when my phone's down, my phone's on silent for a reason. I don't need to be interrupted every 2 seconds. I'm in chat groups. I don't need things going off. I have certain updates that come, emails. I don't need that disruption. When I pick up my phone, that's when I'll look at it. Now, some people actually tested theory. I was around my wife's cousin, and he called me with my phone in my hand. He goes, "Bro, you ain't lying." I said, "What are you talking about?" "I'm calling you right now." I said, "I'm dead serious. When I look
See,
at my phone, that's when I'm gonna communicate with you."
But that's
what
so
about
okay.
emergency?
I don't know, Sherry.
Emergency. If I'm
The,
locked up, I can't call you,
the, the,
Jamal.
the,
Like
the
seriously,
emergency.
okay.
You know how my family gets around that? They call my wife.
Can you
Wow.
just put some people on favorites? If they call 3 times, it will ring at least. That would be like your mama and daddy and wife at least.
Yeah,
But for me, the boundary is like last night, Jamal sent me a response to a message. I saw it. I was like, we could talk about that tomorrow.
which response? Because she had me up so late, you guys.
Well, the last one.
Oh, right. Voice note. Anyway, Lee, we're taking up your time. Let's go to the news break. We have the Economist, Bermuda College lecturer, Craig Simmons, coming on. We're going to recap the throne speech. You don't want to miss this conversation. Lee Anna Lambert, over to you.
Thanks, Jamal and Sherry. And again, a happy Monday to everyone that's tuned in with us this morning. I hope you all are having a great start to your day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Well, it's only been the weekend, but many are still taking time to digest Friday's throne speech, which was delivered by Governor Raina Legley on behalf of the PLP government in an intimate setting made up of dignitaries. Now, the primary focus of this year's national plans hinged on powering Bermuda out of the economic decline due to the COVID-19 pandemic by building back business, as well as health and education reform. Now, action on energy costs was also pledged, along with a youth employment strategy to combat social dysfunction. Changes to the immigration process were also promised in the form of a new digitized application system, and we'll be talking about more of this in our daily focus. Meanwhile, the U.S. policy, which requires foreign nationals to be fully vaccinated to fly to the United States, is in full effect as of 1 a.m. local time today. The U.S. consulate in Bermuda recently released a statement noting there will be exceptions for children, with the official website stating that children under the age of 18 are exempted from the vaccination requirement, while there will also be exceptions for people with rare medical conditions to the vaccines. However, outside of those exceptions, the policy will apply to Bermudians, and as of everyone knows, we frequently travel to the United States for various reasons, including vacation, business, shopping, medical treatment, education, to compete in sport events, and more, with the U.S. also used as a transit point, as we often fly through their gateway cities to get to other nations, such as those in the Caribbean. Police say that a suspect arrested in connection with the fatal firearms incident, which took the life of 2 young men at the Robin Hood bar last month, is scheduled to make an appearance during this morning's plea court session in Magistrates Court. Now, we will have more details for you tomorrow on the outcome of that court appearance. And the Bermuda under-20 football team had a great start to their quest as they defeated Barbados 3-2 over the weekend as part of the CONCACAF under-20 championship. Now, it was a thrilling first game in Group C with 2 goals scored in the second half stoppage time. Bermuda held the lead the entire game despite their opponent's attempts for a draw. Now, in the 92nd minute, Bermuda managed to pull off a dramatic winner, with Stephen Jones finding the back of the net to end the game with 3 points. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 80 and a low near 74 degrees. It will be a cloudy and showery start to the day with a risk of thunder, but it is expected to get brighter by the afternoon. Now, low pressure to our west will provide the island with showers into this morning. After that, shower chances ease, yet we become increasingly windy into Tuesday as the low exits to our north, then becomes settled on Wednesday onward as high pressure builds in from the west. That's all for our daily hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. But here's a little helpful tip from your favorite community pharmacist. Now, never give your child ibuprofen like Nurofen or Advil liquids if you suspect chickenpox. It makes the virus go deeper into the tissue and can cause a more severe reaction. You can always trust People's Pharmacist to tell you what to be aware of when taking medications. Now let's head back to Jamal and Sherry in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
All right, Lee, thank you so much for that. I just want to say this. So I didn't get to see the Bermuda game the other night, but I love it. I loved every bit of it. I know a lot of the parents of the children, and to see them so proud of their children on social media, like proud parents. I'm speaking Kim Brown, and I'm speaking Gary Moreno and Patrice Moreno. Like it really gave me chills. But I'm gonna pick on Gary Moreno. Of course, you knew that.
Please do.
I've never met his son in person, but I feel like I've known him because of the videos he shared over the years. And to see him grow and now be a part of that team is so special. And I know his family is so proud of him. I love the support that Bermuda is giving Bermudians. But I want to say this. I have to say this. They won. There will be harder games, harder competition. We need that same positive energy when the result is different. Yeah. I'll leave it on that. Leanna, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Welcome, guys. Have a good one.
All righty. We're going to be right back. Take a quick break. We'll be back with Craig Simmons, Bermuda College lecturer and economist, and we'll be talking about the drone speech. Oh, should we go to YouTube only to have this combo? I'm thinking. Let's keep it there.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Salter's bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
Here's a health food company who meet the vegan food challenge head on. Field Roast, proud purveyors of vegan good eats designed to replace the meatiness and cheesiness traditionally bestowed by animal products. From a meat eater's point of view, this is mission impossible. Field Roast has cracked the code, allowing plant proteins to deliver flavors that supersede those of animal origin. Try Field Roast chew slices, tomato cayenne, coconut herb, and original cream. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. Sherry Vanderpool, myself, Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. It is time to bring our guest for the day, Mr. Craig Simmons, in, and we're going to reflect on the throne speech delivered by the governor on behalf of the government of Bermuda last Friday. Good morning, sir. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm well. I'm recovering from yesterday's national holiday.
National holiday?
Yeah.
Holiday? Was it the time change or?
No, it was my mother's birthday. She went 95.
You know what?
Yes.
We're gonna give a cup match air horn for that. Happy birthday to your mom. And that is a milestone birthday. Happy 95th birthday to your mother. And audience, please give them. Yeah, wow. That is a milestone. So happy birthday, and hopefully she had a great birthday, one to remember, one that you all embraced.
It was off the chain.
Sherry, I didn't get my invites. You got yours?
No, there was a boundary set.
I love it. I love it. Well, anyway, good morning, sir. And let's get right to it. So the throne speech was delivered by the governor, as stated, on Friday. According to some reports, this is the weakest and least impressive throne speech in 23 years, the OBA leader, Cole Simon, said. What were your first thoughts upon hearing it?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Arguably, and perhaps you can read between the lines, the sort of best parts, the parts that resonated with me were the comments by the governor. When she talked about the overreach of government, about essentially a lack of institutional trust. I think that for me strikes at the heart of where we are as a country. And maybe it also speaks to sort of the desperation that policymakers feel with the pandemic and how we recover from the pandemic. You sort of see it happening around the world. I mean, we're on a war footing, and oftentimes politicians feel the urge to act. And sometimes those actions are perceived as being sort of totalitarian, not really being considerate and compassionate of diversity. And, perhaps Her Excellency, the governor, was sort of hinting at those kinds of things in the throne speech. I mean, I would have to agree that it lacks a lot of substance. There are plans for plans. Having said that, I mean, there are some parts, there are a couple of things like the infrastructure bills dealing with the sewage systems in the Eastern End. That's something that's concrete and something that's long overdue. Expanding renewable energy, but that's largely going to be driven by the market anyway, because I think Bermudians have the world has reached a point where solar is now cheaper than it's ever been. And so the private sector is picking it up, households are picking it up, and sort of government is sort of piggybacking on that. So, that's got a little substance to it. The part about the expansion of the economic empowerment zone.
Well, you know what? That was my next question, because, and let me put some context behind that. Led by the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation, it states the government will work with the island's lending institutions to provide financial, loan, mortgage assistance to communities of faith and third sector entities, as stated, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe this is enough to drive the economy forward?
The short answer is no. Our government, I mean, we're heavily in debt, and so they don't have the ability to sort of put into place what some would call sort of an expansionary fiscal policy, or the kind of thing that President Joe Biden's been trying to do in the United States and hasn't been able to do, despite the fact that the U.S. essentially has a bottomless pit of money. I mean, we are severely constricted in the government is in how it can, launch capital projects, spending projects. And so it really comes down to a reliance on foreign investment and Bermudian entrepreneurs like yourself seeing opportunities and executing those opportunities. And so one growth area in Bermuda is in fact renewable energy, which allows us to catch two birds with one stone, I suppose. It allows us to get away from non-renewable sources like oil and fossil fuels and that kind of thing, and give us some independence when it comes to generating electricity, and perhaps even make it easier for the electrification of transportation, which invariably or inevitably is going to come our way, and hopefully we'll be well down that road by 2025. Essentially gas stations becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, I think earlier part of this week, there was 22 items last year, and only like maybe 6 of them were complete. What items stand out to you as items that could logistically be completed in the necessary time frame?
Well, renewable energy, definitely. I mean, it's something that, like I said, the private sector is in fact working on. Healthcare, I think that one you can forget about that. That's just not going to happen. Continuing on with renewable energy, the regulatory authority is creating an energy sandbox, which is sort of a concept that it borrowed from the Bermuda Monetary Authority. Where you allow companies to come in and test drive technologies, test drive ideas. So those are realistic things that could be accomplished with determination. Like I say, healthcare is off. The idea, I think it was called in this throne speech, labor market and social development measures to address dysfunction. Well, that ain't going to happen in a year. It ain't going to happen in 2 years. That is something, arguably, the dysfunction has been around as long as I've been on this planet. And so it's, it's nice to hear, and I suppose it could perhaps garner some votes. But, social dysfunction, that stuff runs really, 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 really deep. And so, the cannabis market, no government on the planet has successfully created a cannabis market. Don't expect it to happen here. Will it happen in the next 12 months? Probably not. That is another sort of 3 to 5 year project. Yeah, I mean, geez, what else we got? Oh, the financing of the economic empowerment zone. Again, that's more debt, which creates a problem. I mean, the government borrowed, what, 1.6 billion last August? We've got a huge tranche of debt coming due in 2023, which will probably require more borrowing. So, things are, it's really up to you guys, entrepreneurs, to sort of come up with something. And I don't think that is so far-fetched. Young people are doing amazing things right now. They are tinkering. And in fact, economic growth comes from the tinkerers, the people who are doing what might, on the face of it, be considered silly things. Maybe, entrepreneurs doing crazy things. And the thing about entrepreneurship, most of them are going to fail.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the way it is. From an economic perspective, that's cool, because we only need a handful to succeed. And those handful of entrepreneurs that succeed, they are going to do big things. They're going to employ hundreds of people. And that, to me, is the way it's just that we can't see it. And it feels like really the uncertainty is just palpable. And you sort of feel like, God, we got to do something. And so I think the government feels the same way. And it has to sort of pull a rabbit out of the hat. But we don't believe in rabbits coming out of hats. So we sit back and we yawn and we say, oh, God, the government's, they're at a loss. They have nothing. Well, I mean, if the opposition came in, they'd be in the same boat, because the policy space that the government has to operate in it's limited. And so it's a private sector recovery. I mean, we can talk about the economic investment certificates, which is sort of a variant of foreign investment. You want foreigners to come here and spend some money in a business, $2.5 million. But of course, that requires we Bermudians, or certain kinds of Bermudians in the political process, to change their view of foreigners.
Correct.
This hostility that, it's Bermudians first. Well, that's a great narrative. But, sometimes when you're focusing in on one thing, you in many ways displace the thing that you're actually trying to achieve. So bringing in people from the outside to work their magic can actually get the economic machine moving.
Yeah.
And so, we've talked about immigration reform for a long time, and it's just not happening. I mean, it's you would have thought that with this particular government, with the majority that they had, that's one thing that you could push through.
Right.
And give yourself time for people to see it as being a bad idea, and then convince them that, oh yeah, wow, I can see the jobs being created. You would have the wriggle room for this sort of immigration liberalization to bear fruit, so that when the next election comes around, people say, oh, that was a pretty good move you guys did. But it reminds me of in the city of London when they introduced tolls, to deal with the traffic in London. Boris Johnson, not my favorite person, introduced tolls on the roads in the city of London. It was so unpopular. I mean, people complained to no end. Well, now that it's in and people see the benefits of the toll system, you can't take it away. And I think immigration reform is sort of it's like that. I think our sort of view of the future is we can't see past our nose.
Oh, Miss, I want to go back to something you said that stood out, because Sherry and I were talking last week, and she asked me off air, and she doesn't mind me saying this, but she asked me off air, what's the difference between being self-employed and an entrepreneur? And I don't think a lot of Bermudians understand the difference. And you literally just kind of explained the difference. Entrepreneurship is about creating jobs and opportunities for others. Most people who are self-employed are literally their business. And so I think I want people to understand that. Like, again, I want you to understand the difference between being an entrepreneur and creating those hundreds of jobs. And it doesn't even have to be hundreds, but key positions where these people have opportunities to work and so on. That's the difference. Not going and starting your business and just, if you go on vacation, your business is on vacation. That's not entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not necessarily
you touched on
the economy. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
We live in a highly globalized world, and we're sort of super connected. And one of the downsides of being connected to the global economy in a deep way is that you open yourself to these things called black swans, highly improbable events like financial crises and pandemics. Well, the flip side of that is that entrepreneurs can expose you to positive black swans. So somebody on this island tinkering in their basement, doing something that the rest of us think is really, really crazy, if you want to use a biblical analogy, like Moses building an ark, people laughing and saying, that's a stupid idea. It'll never work. That's the entrepreneur, that vision, that determination. And when that thing works, you get the flip side of a black swan. You get the positive black swan. Google was a black swan. Those guys tried to sell the company for $800,000. And the person who was going to buy it said, nah, it's too much money for that company. Google. Entrepreneurs are like the salt of the earth. And we don't give them enough credit. I mean, because one reason why I like them, because they're taking all the risk. When they fail, I don't give a damn. Because there's no skin on my back. But what we need to realize, when they succeed, let's not bring out the jealousy card.
Right.
Let's praise them, because it's a hard existence. Everyone else is going left, and the entrepreneur is going right, and gets ostracized and talked about and ridiculed. And then, but they do deliver the goods as a group of people. They are the salt of the earth. And unfortunately, there's not much given to them in this throne speech. They're sort of the invisible class. But they're the necessary class. They are the ones, because the government is out of ammo.
Well, let's go to the audience as we run out of time. Shamari Tolk is asking, the real question is, what would Mr. Simmons do that can help to stimulate the economy, etc.?
Okay, so that's a great question. Number one, I would work diligently to create an equity market, a place where entrepreneurs can go to find not debt financing, but people who are willing to share in the profits. So the difference between debt and equity is that with debt, the person lending you the money really doesn't take a big risk. The equity partner, if you fail, they fail. And so for me, the biggest problem facing Bermuda is that entrepreneurs don't have access to that can allow their businesses to grow over the sort of next 3 to 5 years. So that for me is the number one problem facing Bermuda, lack of an equity market. You do have organizations like an incubator at BEDIC, and there's another one, Ignite, a private one, where entrepreneurs who have succeeded are freely giving of their time to up and coming entrepreneurs. Because again, I think that is where the change will come. Now, you're probably going to say, but that's taking a big risk. It's like Crown and Anchor. Well, it's not quite Crown and Anchor, because I'm fairly sure that if you were to underwrite the activities of 100 entrepreneurs, 3 of them are going to do really, really, really well. And in fact, drive this economy forward. The alternative is to rely on the government. And that's just not going to happen. Governments don't have ideas. Governments can provide the institutional structure, like by way of a BEDIC, providing equity financing, advice. And I think that goes back to Her Excellency's comments about, we have these, government has created these institutions like the Bermuda Tourist Authority to do various things. But the government has stepped in and says, well, wait a minute, we don't think that you guys are delivering the goods. Well, the government was in charge of tourism since, Hector was a pup, and they did a crappy job of it. But at the first sign of trouble, they want to fire the CEO. That is no way to conduct a Quango. You wouldn't do that with the Bermuda Monetary Authority. You wouldn't do it with the court system. You have to trust in the institutions that you set up. You have to trust the people that you put in charge. You can't be second guessing them all the way. And right now with tourism, it's tough. So
I would say from a tourism perspective, I think that you're absolutely right. I think the government needs to step aside, because the truth of the matter is, as long as we have politicians who think that good marketing is going to get tourism to Bermuda, it just doesn't work. Every place has good marketing. You need to operate tourism like an entrepreneur, like a business. And politicians, with all due respect, do not do that. Let's go to another question. We've got quite a few. They love having these conversations. Sean Smith, he's asking, with the increased cost of living and doing business in Bermuda, what would be the pros and cons of pegging the Bermuda dollar with another country whose dollar trades less than the US dollar?
The problem with Bermuda is that we basically import everything from the United States. So if in fact you were to tie your dollar to another country, let's say Barbados, where you can get 2 to 1, or I don't know, Singapore, if you continue to import your goods and rely on services from the United States, that inflation will just continue to work its way through. The other part is the fact that in this particular pandemic era, food prices. Last year in Bermuda, food prices increased by over 4%. The overall rate of inflation was 0. Some will laugh at that, but this is my point. Food is going to become increasingly more difficult to procure, and getting it to this little island in the middle of the ocean it's very, very complex. Food security, it's something that we just haven't entertained. Only recently have we decided to entertain energy security via renewable energy, specifically solar, and now we're moving into wind. but we've got to get our act together with food. We need to develop shock absorbers that insulate us from whatever's going on in the global economy. And so there are two surefire ways to sort of install shock absorbers into our economy. One is with respect to energy, and the other is with respect to food. The government has indicated that it wants to get into vertical farming, but again, we are 10 years away from that having an impact on food prices, because they're just talking about green leafy vegetables. But again, entrepreneurs experimenting in these greenhouses, doing wacko stuff. Like at the college, we've got my good friend Joseph Weeks tinkering, experimenting. You know, you talked about a research institute. Give Joseph a bucket full of money to go and just tinker with his students and learn from the process of vertical farming and traditional farming, and take it seriously. Understand that we need to sort of shorten the supply chain, because let's face it, mangoes are coming from Mexico. Getting them from Mexico is a complicated process. Complication is a synonym for expensive.
Well, you know what's interesting, Mr. Simmons? We actually have the folks from Meyer on Wednesday, the shipping company, to discuss all of this, right? And I think that's a great way to segue into that conversation. It's a great way to segue into that, because one of the most important things I feel this show is here to do is have conversations with professionals and people who know, where you just don't get this anywhere else. And I'm not quite sure, and I don't say this to fearmonger or scare people, but I'm not quite sure the populace understands what we're up against. I really don't. I don't think we understand how dire the situation is in regards to Bermuda's situation. And I say that because, you know, I observe, I monitor. Obviously, I don't live in Bermuda. And so I see things very differently. Maybe those in Bermuda have a better view than me because they're on the ground. But then conversations like this help me understand, okay, I'm not wrong with what I'm observing. Before
I'm going to say something rather unpopular. Grocery store managers, they're heroes. Our food supply was largely uninterrupted during this pandemic. I mean, do you know how difficult it is to procure food? I mean, you can look at American TV and see that they were having problems keeping some of their grocery stores stocked. We had that period about a year ago, was it April and May, where there was a little bit of a panic. But that's all. I mean, you know, it's interesting, headwinds and tailwinds. Once we get tailwinds, we very quickly forget that we have a tailwind. You know, we just expect to walk into a grocery store and get whatever we want. And we can. And it's expensive. I get that. But we're way out here in the Atlantic, and it's a difficult thing. I mean, I wouldn't want to jump on the Oleander and travel from New Jersey to Bermuda in this weather. I mean, we saw a little video clip of that shit rocking from side to side. It's like, no. It is a complicated process getting my Ethiopian coffee and my love cup. I haven't got my daily
hour cup is coming,
but that's okay. To get all of this stuff to Bermuda so that we can live the lives of people in the US, people in the United Kingdom. I mean, we are living special lives in this country. And we seem to sort of not appreciate what goes into me drinking my Ethiopian coffee. It's mind-boggling for me as a student of economics as to how the hell do you motivate people to do this thing? We know it's not a government plan. It's entrepreneurs, people out there. And here's another thing about entrepreneurs. They are some of the most philanthropic people you want to meet. Most of them are losing money right now, and they keep on paying people, keep people on the payroll. Now, there are some unscrupulous, and it's unfortunate that a couple of unscrupulous entrepreneurs end up impacting all of them.
Well, can I say something on that note? I actually said, I believe it was Temer from People's Pharmacy. I think it was recently, Sherry, where I said, I feel like many, especially retail and grocers in Bermuda, are actually doing a community service right now. Yeah, because when I go into the Target down the street here in the US, there's 22 registers. Not one is open. It's all self-checkout, right? You go in Bermuda, I know our sponsor Linda has just added self-checkout, but said there won't be any job loss. But I said it that, and again, this is why I go back to a lot of Bermudians not understanding how dire the situation is, because these businesses are losing money and they are doing a service to their community by employing people in that respect, because technology has already eliminated your position.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Cashier positions are dead.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
So many.
Just before you go, we are out of time. Before you go, what's a positive outside? You know, you've mentioned entrepreneurship's the way out. What can you leave people, and not trying to flower anything over reality, but are there some positives that people can look forward to right now regarding the throne speech and the economy?
Okay. So with throne speech and the economy, geez, I was going to say something profound, more, okay. Back on the throne speech. Positives from the throne speech. That's boy, you really. Oh boy.
I think that response sums it up. I think that sums it up. Yeah. I think it sums it up. But from an economic perspective.
Well, I suppose the message is not economic, and I got this from a young Ugandan activist, climate activist, Vanessa Nakate. She said something that really resonated with me. She says, we need to continue holding our leaders accountable. Yeah, we can't be silent about this. But she says 3 things should stay with us as we continue to organize and mobilize. They are faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And I hear in our community a lot of anger and it seems like it's anger at anger. It doesn't seem to be directed in a constructive way. I mean, unless anger is going to help you, move you in a positive direction, it's only going to make you worse off. And so listening to this young woman from Uganda who's facing a climate crisis in our country to talk about faith, hope, and love, and how we Bermudians just seem to be at one another's throats over vaccines and politics and all sorts of craziness. I'm thinking, have we lost the balance of our minds? And so I look at young people and I say, well, I'm sorry for being such a poor role model to you, because we just, my generation seems to have sort of lost its way. And then we look at young people and say, look at it, see, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hey,
it's all right.
Stuff right here. Love.
Nah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but economics.
Yeah. Mr. Simmons, honestly,
that says it all.
It's always a pleasure. I mean, Talent says government just announced a post-throne press speech conference, throne speech press conference, and he says gonna need you to return tomorrow. But no, we enjoy these conversations, and honestly, we say we're gonna try to have you monthly. But I think these are teachable moments for all of us, not just myself, Sherry, or the audience, but all of us. I think my hope is that someone asked earlier, is Mr. Simmons on any government boards where they can take some of the information is using? And I mean, I don't know if you are, yes or no, but I would say this much. If you're not, I mean, being on boards isn't about liking people. It's about finding people who can add value and improve our situation. But that said, we have to run. We're going to be in touch, because guess what? This conversation is never ending. Happy belated to your mom once again.
Yes.
And please give her everyone's regards from the audience as they were sharing as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Bye.
All the best.
All right. Craig Simmons, Bermuda College lecturer and economist. We're going to be back. We're going to still have the Daily Play wrap it up. Always appreciate it. If you enjoyed that conversation, found it helpful, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share these important conversations as well. Do not go anywhere. In 2 minutes, we'll be right back.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
I have my three children, a 27-year-old and an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have to balance it out. I actually even stopped working Monday to Wednesday just so that I can put in time for the products and I put in time for my family. Because for me, my family comes first over anything. You know I have to run my business so that we can eat and everything, but my children come first. I let them even play a role when I'm making my products. Come on, get up. You can come help me mix it. Come help me put the label on it. So when we talk about inspiring your daughter or your children, I make my children get up there and see what it takes to run a business. Come on, Surrey. This brand, Surrey Shea & Co., is named after you. So you need to help me. You're gonna come, you can do this, put the labels on for me. You can do it. Even my little 4-year-old, I had him do it. Mommy, let me help. So I just let them help, and it teaches them the way.
All right. Thanks again to Craig Simmons, Bermuda College lecturer and economist, for these important conversations that he continues to have on the platform. Thanks again to Medical House, Lindo's, One Communications, and People's Pharmacy for trusting us and getting behind us so that we can do this for you, with you on a daily basis. Time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Sherry, are you ready? All right. It is a Who Said It quote. Very easy. Help her out, folks. I'm going to start the music now. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Okay, Muhammad Ali. Okay.
I was like, she don't get this, right? We're putting you on punishment. Like, seriously, like, nah.
I should have long been on punishment, but I need to set a boundary and be like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. She was fast. In the most concise way, thoughts on today's show?
Well, first I need to highlight that, we also have to put out there that, not congratulations, but highlight that Her Excellency was the first female, I believe, to deliver this speech. So just want to put that out there. And then also, Jamal,
oh, sorry,
let's take everything else out of it.
Sorry.
Yeah, but anyway.
What, how you pronounce it?
Her Excellency, and just leave
Big
it
up
at
Her Excellency.
You're gonna get hate mail, but in regards to Mr. Simmons, it always is a pleasure to hear his perspective and to hear it in a kind of a grassroots kind of way as well, and to put a lot of perspective on what's going on in the economy, and he continues to school people on what's really going on. So I love that.
Yeah. Indeed. I'll say this much. As far as boundaries, we're going to continue having that conversation. Folks, yes. They are important. They are important. They are important. In regards to Mr. Simmons, I can't get enough of the conversations. Now, my hope is that these are not just conversations, but there's action taken behind the scenes. It's all good saying that, well, what are your solutions? He can have all the solutions in the world, but he's not in a position to actually enact, do what's necessary. He's not on any boards, or he's not a member of the government. But sometimes ego and a bit of humility could actually take some of the ideas that he may have. and use them to become better. Just want to make a correction. I think I referred to Kim Robinson as Kim Brown earlier. Kim Robinson and Ja Robinson, their son. I know she was a very proud mom as her son was playing for the Bermuda national team along with others. So proud of the Bermuda team. Let's keep that same energy. Sherry, you've got some daily inspiration for us?
I do, and it came from the throne speech. How about that? And it says, if you want to change the culture, you'll have to start by changing the organization. Dame Mary Douglas, a British anthropologist.
Interesting. That is a good one, folks. Don't forget, we have some more guests this week, but Wednesday is almost a continuation of today's show as we welcome the folks from Meyer. They're responsible for a lot of the shipping, and they will be able to answer your questions. As Mr. Simmons said, your retailers, grocery stores in particular, are heroes for keeping your shelves. I've been to stores and there's nothing on the shelves. Understanding your position, how you live, where you live, is important to know what your next move is going to be. On that note, thanks again to our partners, Medical House One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sherry Vanderpool. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great day. We're out. Peace.